just gonna rant for like 2 seconds. I don't do this very often, but I want to today. I want to rant. I'm so sick and tired of people coming on my account being like, when are you gonna address your diet? Y'all don't know what I eat. I don't make that much food content. I don't talk about what I eat. And frankly, you are not here watching me put food in my mouth.
Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Today we are going to be talking about Anna, or glitter and lasers. We have not talked about Anna in a while. If you are unfamiliar with Anna, Anna is someone that got popular on social media. A big part of it was the fact that she was a bigger person that was very confident, right? She calls herself a confidence queen. She had that on her TikTok. I don't know if she still has it, but she had it on there forever. That's her whole thing, was that she was a bigger person that was still really confident in their body. She would do a bunch of dances and, you know, all of these things. And a big part of her content was that she, at least in my opinion, she was able to do these different movements and move her body in ways that someone else that would be that size usually couldn't. So people thought that that was really interesting. And I really feel like that was a big part of her, her presence online, as well as being someone that is a bigger person that still wears a bunch of really crazy clothes. And she was able to like reference all of that stuff and give people advice and stuff like that. And so like that in and of itself, completely fine, but a big part of her content was being confident in your body and loving yourself no matter what, and moving your body at whatever size, right?
I passed that lady again, and she stops me. I don't even think she realizes she's already seen me. And she goes, waves, and is like, good job. And I'm like, do I know you? And she goes, I don't think so. And I was like, well, you're acting like someone who knows me. And if you knew me, you'd know that I'm on this trail all the time. So it's really not that exciting. So now you know. And then I just took off running. I am so petty, but in the most delightful way ever. You can be nice and a bad bitch. I woke up to a couple people really disappointed to how I talked to the lady on the trail yesterday. I think people missed last week's story where I ran into this woman, this same exact woman, and she said something like, you know, getting out there is the first step or something like this. And granted, I go on the trail, I've probably been on 100 times this year, okay? She just kept going, and she kept saying things that just implied that I was really out of shape. And then she wanted me to thank her for that. And it was really, really awkward. I had had a really bad day. And the fact that she didn't remember that interaction and approached me the exact same way is why I said what I said.
And recently there have been a bunch of things that have gone on that have made people feel like maybe those things that were being said are maybe not true. And that's what I want to talk about today. With Anna, I think something that is really important is that if you just look at her content at a surface level, right? You scroll through a TikTok, you see a post, and you just see someone that's being confident. You're like, oh, that's great. But it's when you start to dig a little bit deeper, especially with the longer form content that Anna makes on YouTube, where there's a lot of things that are said. And then if you dig a little bit deeper, you're like, maybe that's not really what's happening here.
Nope. What about this? This was supposed to be a fun and joyful trip, but it's turning out kind of sad.
You're not in the plus size section. You are a plus size person still. I know. And the thing is with this, like, I have been here. I've been on shopping trips where I wanted to find some cute clothes and nothing fit. Like yesterday, I was trying to figure out an outfit to wear. I am bloated because I'm waiting for Mother Nature to come visit this week. And like, none of my clothes fit. And I was just like, I have had it with pants. I have had it with clothes. I get it. It's frustrating, right? And so I just want to say, like, I have been here. And it's also frustrating when like you are losing weight, you have lost weight. I think she's lost like 100 pounds, which is nothing to like scoff at, right? And like, I get it when you have lost 100 pounds and maybe your body isn't changing in ways that you thought it would. And so like things that you look at and think they should fit you don't. And I understand the frustration with that because I have been there. I was there when like I was shedding a bunch of weight right after I had weight loss surgery, all that. Like I've been there and I get the frustration 100%. But I think the aggressive way in which she is just like putting stuff back, messing things up for the employees that work there is like, incredibly unnecessary and is very like toddler tantrum-esque.
And I feel like that's a really big thing with Anna's content, and why there's more and more people that are maybe kind of connecting the dots and realizing, hey, some of this stuff isn't really making sense to me. It kind of reminds me of our co-host Amberlyn Reed, where if you're someone that just stumbles across one of her videos and you see the comments on there, you're like, oh my gosh, why are people being so mean? But there is such a large group of people that have been watching Amberlyn for so long that are able to point out the little inconsistencies. And so, you know, if you look at the comment section of her videos, it's people kind of pointing out all the inconsistencies. I think Anna, not saying she's exactly on that level as far as the amount of people that are maybe disagreeing, but it seems that there's becoming to be more and more of a community of people that have been watching a good amount of her videos, and other content creators that I do want to talk about that I think do a fantastic job of basically documenting all of the, I don't know about that, and you said this here, right? So there's people that are kind of documenting that stuff, and there's kind of this tide is kind of turning where people are starting to, you know, ask for receipts and be like, hey, you said this here, why isn't that happening, right? And I feel like that's a really big part of Anna's content, and personally I think that's a big part why Anna did actually leave YouTube for a good 4 or 5 months recently. So the big thing that has been happening in the past, you know, since we talked about Anna, is Anna has gotten a slew of different surgeries, some people would call them cosmetic procedures, to help with her lipedema. And that has been a big point of contention, again, because this is someone that has consistently been, you know, hey, be confident in your body no matter what. You should, you know, all of that stuff shouldn't matter. But then this is someone that's getting, you know, multiple surgeries, and it seems like a lot of people are really starting to question why these surgeries are actually happening, and if they are completely necessary, or if these are more like, you know, just kind of cosmetic surgeries, elective cosmetic surgeries that someone wants to get, and maybe they're using their platform to say, hey, I'm actually doing this for this reason, when in reality it's maybe just because you want to get you know, a body lift or a tummy tuck or something like that, you know. And so there are people that are like, hey, I'm not really seeing the reason as to why this is happening, especially if the reason is always going to be lipedema, but you're getting some sort of surgery in your midsection area for lipedema, where most experts and people that talk about lipedema say that it doesn't really affect you in that area, right? So there's all that stuff going on. So that's what we are going to be talking about today. So the last 2 surgeries that we talked about was Anna getting surgeries on her legs to help with lipedema, or that was what was claimed, which, you know, as far as lipedema is concerned, a lot of it ends up hanging out around the legs and arms. So nothing super crazy there, but the next 2 surgeries have definitely been a little bit more interesting. People have had some more stuff to say. So the first surgery was she got a brachioplasty, I think is how you say it. I don't know fully, but if we go and look at what that is, so brachioplasty is also known as an arm lift, is a surgical procedure to remove excess skin and fat from the upper arms, improving their contour and appearance, right? And so if we also go through and we look at some of, I wish I could show you this video, but it is pretty graphic, and so I don't think I can show you it, but I would encourage you to maybe look up what these types of surgeries look like. It definitely looks, you know, like an arm lift, which in and of itself is not a bad thing. If you are someone that has loose skin and you want to get an arm lift, like all of that stuff is completely fine. Like I am someone that has loose skin. I think if I wanted to get loose skin surgery, I don't feel like I would have to prove to anyone that I'm allowed to get this surgery. That's not what the problem is, right? Where people, and the issue that people are having is that these surgeries are being said, I have to do this because I have lipedema, and this is the only way to help. And this is what my doctors are saying. And there are a lot of other people that either have lipedema or are experts with lipedema that are saying this is not a standard thing that you would do if you have lipedema. So people are feeling like there is false information that is being shared, and Anna is being a driver of that false information. That's where a lot of the criticism lies. And I feel like With Anna, it's really hard to explain that because it's so easy for her to just deflect and say, hey, you know what? It's just people that are haters, right? They're just mad that I'm getting surgery. They're just mad that I don't understand. They're mad that I'm getting healthy. They don't. And that's not what the criticism really is. I'm sure, of course, when you are a bigger person on the internet, there are people that are mean, that say mean things, of course, right? That's not what I'm trying to focus on. I'm trying to focus on the people that are bringing up actual points and like having, hey, like this is not the standard thing that someone would do. And it feels like that stuff is never being addressed and it's just being lumped in with people that are, you know, saying, hey, you're fat, right? Like there's two very different types of criticisms that are going on here. The next surgery is where things start to get a little crazy. So she ends up talking with, like right after she ended up getting the arm surgery with her doctor, Dr. Amron, which is a whole nother thing we are about to get into. They talk about the lipedema maybe making its way into the midsection. And people were starting to speculate, oh, are we about to hear about basically a tummy tuck, right? And there was quite a bit of speculation. And then not long after that, there was an announcement that there was going to be this surgery right here, right? So there was fibrosis in her stomach. And then we start to hear about this torsoplasty, right? Also known as a belt lipectomy or a body lift. So if we read here, what is a torsoplasty? Torsoplasty uses several different procedures to reshape everything from the abdomen to the thighs. It can involve a tummy tuck, thigh lift, buttock lift, and liposuction, or any combination of these procedures. The overall goal of a torsoplasty is to give the body the best possible appearance by trimming, boosting, and or removing existing tissue. So there were obviously a lot of people that were very confused because, you know, this whole journey has been basically marketed as a lipedema healing journey, right? This is someone that has very bad lipedema and they are getting these surgeries as basically a last resort, the last thing that they can do to help them live a healthier life. And it's interesting because while all of this stuff is going on, I mean, there's so much other stuff, but you know, Anna is kind of going on and off GLP-1 medications. And then all of the stuff that was happening before it, right? Right before she ends up getting these surgeries and saying, oh, my, you know, I'm doing so terrible. And like my quality of life is so bad. Literally right before all of these surgeries started, a few months before, we're running a half marathon, you know, where like that stuff was happening immediately almost before all of these surgeries started taking place. And so that's really where all of these questions really started happening. But now we're getting to the point where it's like the natural progression, it ended up happening where we got to the tummy tuck, which so many people were talking about when this whole thing started off. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we end up getting to this point, and that's kind of exactly where we have gotten to. So speaking about Anna's doctor, Dr. Amron. So Dr. Amron has actually been around for quite a long time. If we go, this is from his YouTube channel. This is from 16 years ago, okay? It goes on to say, this is the title of the video, is liposuction surgery before and after. Danny Bonaducci loses his love handles, Dr. David Amron, right? And this is like a clip that honestly I would show it to you, but it is so pixelated, it's hard to see. But it's just him coming out onto the show being like, oh, I did this, you know, did this liposuction for this, you know, for this famous person or whatever. But that's kind of how this guy got popular, is doing these celebrity, you know, plastic surgery things, right? And so this is what Dr. David Amron has kind of been known for a long time. And as far as like the lipedema stuff and him doing these different basically liposuction surgeries for people with lipedema is a relatively new thing that is just kind of coming around. And it's actually really interesting because if we look at this video right here, which I think is a fantastic video by Colin Mockery, who actually is probably one of the most like, he has done a lot of research about Anna's claims as far as the lipedema stuff is concerned. And he's done a lot of just deep dives into that stuff. So I highly recommend just his videos in general if you're curious about like every little detail about the lipedema stuff. Like it's very, very interesting. He does a great job. Highly recommend his channel. I actually watched this video a while ago and I left a comment and I said this is a fantastic video because I thought that it was so good. But he has this interview with lipedema expert Dr. Tobias Birch, right? And this is a person that knows what they're talking about. So if we go to this website right here, this is from some sort of like, conference thing where he was speaking at. But it goes on to say right here, right? Dr. Birch is the founder of the International Lipedema Association. So this is a person that is the founder of an association about lipedema. He's been doing this for a while. A global network of renowned healthcare professionals from 22 countries, including Europe, Canada, and the USA, Australia, and South America. He is the leading author of the article series Lipedema, Myths and Facts. So this is someone that knows what they're talking about, okay? And in that video, obviously, he is very professional about it. He's not like, these people are wrong. But he makes a lot of claims of being like, the stuff that they are doing, as far as like Dr. Amron and what, Anna or Glitter and Lasers is saying should be done. He is basically saying either that is like the absolute last thing you should do or even saying, I don't think you should be doing this at all, right? And this is someone that is an expert in the field, right? And so it's very interesting because a lot of the content that we're seeing from Anna is basically an ad for Dr. Amron's services, and they are less this is how you deal with lipedema as a normal person, right? Most people are not going to be able to get these surgeries. And so it's just very strange as like, I am sharing this information to help people that actually have lipedema, when in reality, this doctor right here, Dr. Tobias Birch, the guy that is a founder of the Lipedema Association, right? This guy knows what he's talking about, is saying, I don't think that this is probably what we should be doing, right? And so that, I think, really opened up a can of worms as to why is this content even really being made and why are these things actually happening? And then it only got even more over the top, right, when Anna is getting basically like a tummy tuck to help with the lipedema, where, most professionals are saying that is not something that lipedema targets. You're not going to be dealing with lipedemic like fat and all of the things that go with that in your trunk area. It's going to be basically focused on your legs and your arms. And so that's where people are like, if you want to get these surgeries, that's fine. But like, just be honest about why you're actually getting the surgeries. Before we get into the most recent video that Anna has uploaded, which we definitely will be talking about, I do want to talk about some of the responses and how people have been reacting to everything recently. So a lot of the comments have been people kind of asking Anna about her diet, right? Because we're talking about this thing that she's dealing with that, a lot of people are like, hey, maybe your diet might be something that could help here. And because we're talking about, again, we're getting these surgeries. We are doing the most extreme reaction, right, to this stuff. People are obviously very much so being like, well, how is your diet like? What are you doing on a day-to-day basis? What does that look like, right? Because that's something that Anna has kind of always shared. And she has responded in maybe not the best ways. So this is from one of her stories, I think on Instagram, where she writes, because it's people asking her about food and stuff like that. So she writes this down. What I eat is none of your business. Am I the queen of perfect eating? Absolutely not. In fact, this past week has been filled with questionable food choices. That said, the challenges I deal with in my body is not a result of my food choices or my weight. It did not cause my fibrosis. It didn't cause my genetic issues. It did not cause me to have autoimmune disorders. Also, eating mashed potatoes every once in a while makes me a nicer person. And let's see what she has to say here in this video.
I'm just going to rant for like 2 seconds. I don't do this very often, but I want to today. I want to rant. I'm so sick and tired of people coming on my account being like, when are you going to address your diet? Y'all don't know what I eat. I don't make that much food content. I don't talk about what I eat. And frankly, you are not here watching me put food in my mouth. So how do you know what I'm eating? You see my body size and you make a lot of assumptions, but you don't know shit. Also, I'm in a slight flare up. Can you tell?
So she's saying, you know, you don't know anything because I'm not showing what I'm eating. And I think that's the point, right? People are like, well, you're doing all of these extreme measures to deal with this stuff. What is your diet looking like, right? Like, I think any doctor that is going to be dealing with these issues are going to be like, well, let's address at steps, right? Let's try and focus on the thing that you can control the most, which is what you're eating, and work our way up from there. Like, and then make the next extreme, to the end being obviously going to be surgery, right? But I think it makes sense to do everything you can to make sure that those, you know, little areas are taken care of. And I think it makes sense that people are kind of curious because, as you can see from this story, we see Anna with a bunch of Nando's chicken, where she goes on to say, some days you just need a break. So instead of cooking for the weekend, I ordered a family order of Nando's chicken to meal prep for the next few days. With the new Selena album running on repeat, I'm using today to get recalibrated after a busy few days with my godkids. I've physically been pushing myself a lot, and it's important I don't forget to rest while building up my stamina. Old me didn't prioritize rest. I would throw myself into a huge flare by overdoing it and set myself back even further. I'm going to relax today so I can confidently take on tomorrow. And as you can see, it's a bunch of different Nando's chicken, which, you know, in and of itself isn't like the worst thing in the world. But again, it's like people are seeing this, so of course they're going to be curious, like, what is the rest of your diet looking like? And so it makes sense why they would be curious. So with all of that, like, updates and all of that stuff out of the way, we can finally get into the video that was uploaded recently. So Anna actually has not uploaded a video in quite some time, right? So the last one she uploaded before this one was actually 5 months ago, right? And basically probably around December, because she's talking about Christmas, right? And so this is the first video that she has uploaded in a long time. And in this video, she talks a lot about this, and she shares her journey getting this, basically this tummy tuck, right? And so we are going to go over it. We're not going to go over the entire video. I don't think most of it is super necessary, but there's a good portion of it that I do want to talk about.
One of the things that was really hard post the second surgery as well is that I was not fully recovered from my first surgery. It was 2 surgeries really back to back, coming out of recovery and then going immediately into another surgery. And when I say recovery, I mean like the very initial stages of recovery. And this is something that I realize people do not understand. They expect like the results to be immediate. And I think that's because people are very familiar with like weight loss surgery, where you do see results very quickly. Like people begin to lose weight and they're like, oh, her body's changed. That is not how these surgeries work.
I don't know if she means here like a regular weight loss surgery, or maybe she means like a skin surgery, because like a skin surgery, you see those results immediately, right? Like you can, like, obviously there's swelling and stuff like that, but you see those results relatively quickly. But when it comes to like a weight loss surgery, I mean, you do, you know, obviously you lose weight pretty quickly, but you're not going to see the results immediately like you would like a weight loss or like a loose skin surgery.
The recovery period for these is up to like 18 months to 2 years. So that's all I really have to say about that. I am tired. I'm also hungry. So we're going to go get some dinner. And the next time I will see you guys will actually be tomorrow morning when we are taking pre-op photos, because it's at 9:30, which means I got to get up at a terrible hour. Pray for me. I am so tired. Every time before we actually have surgery, we take what's called pre-op photos. And this allows us to compare pre and post surgery. And it's highly controlled. So like your body's in the same positioning. I wear the same exact underwear set every single time. And it just allows you to have a really fair comparison. We talk a lot about online about how comparisons aren't always genuine. People are standing in different ways, wearing different clothing. Things are pulled up higher or lower. This allows a real, true, honest comparison before and after. And I have really focused on making sure I always have the same underwear set. I always have the same poses. I'm always smiling in my photos. I don't want.
So it's, I mean, those are all good things, right? If you are, you know, trying to see a before and after, but it's just so bizarre, right? Like we're talking about these this stuff that I feel like you would be focused on if the goal was to just change how your body looks. Like, well, I just don't understand why it's so important to have the perfect lighting and it to be exactly the same when you are getting, like, when you're, how you're standing and how the lighting is. It's like, if the goal is like, you're just trying to do this to improve your health, why does that matter? I don't know. Like, that's, again, if the only thing you're trying to do is improve your health and improve your quality of life, why does it matter what you look like? Well, maybe you don't even change at all. Maybe it doesn't, like, so it's like, that's where the narrative is. It's very confusing. Like, what is the goal here? Is it you want to be able to, you know, have a healthier body and move better and not be in pain? Or is it you want your body to look different, so therefore you're trying to make the pictures be as similar as possible so you can see the change as much as you possibly can? You know what I mean? So it's like there's these two narratives that are happening, and it's very confusing as to, like, what is the reason for these surgeries, right? A lot of people have questions about that.
You to think that I'm like sad at the beginning and happy at the end, because that's bullshit too. So I like that I have this to be able to show like the results in a real, like, almost scientific way. This
Scientific, okay.
is the last time I will take these photos before surgery, though I probably will come back to probably LA to take a final round of photos in about a year. We're doing a second round of photos like this just because I am having torso surgery and we want to be able to specifically see the torso, and the underrib does kind of hide that. So we'll have different photos for just this surgery. That's it for the pre-op for this last surgery. Just so excited to be done. Like, I have no regrets about doing it, but I am ready. I'm ready to close this chapter and get to live.
So again, it's just interesting, right? Because she is the one that is putting herself in this position, and then she's like saying, oh my God, it's so hard for me to be doing this, when in reality, a lot of the experts and stuff are saying that this stuff is not necessary. You don't have to be doing this. And so again, it's just really kind of strange. So we're going to go ahead and move forward a little bit in the video. And then this is a pretty big chunk of what we're going to be talking about here.
So in my third surgery, I had my calves and my arms done, which included a brachioplasty. And what this meant is simultaneously my legs and my arms were at a very, like, incapacitated state, especially my arms. I can actually move my arms a lot more than I thought I would be able to. I can go up to 90 degrees, and honestly, it's less painful than it was before surgery, so I love it. Also feels real weird. You're worried about lifting or doing anything, so you really just can't do much with your arms. And then your legs are kind of messed up. So, like, for example, getting up, when your legs are weak, you use your arms, right? But I couldn't do that. So there are times where I literally had to physically be helped getting in and out of bed, which I did not love, because again, if you haven't catch the theme of the video, I'm not good at taking help from other people. And I think physically that's why it was so challenging for me, is I did have to really step back in surgery 3 and rely on other people. I'm a little woozy, so we in a wheelchair. Wee! 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 Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like a real... Okay. So now I'm gonna wait for her to get the car in this wheel.
It's so... I just don't... Again, I know that she has just had surgery, but the way that she just interacted with that nurse or tech or whoever that is, it was just so... I just don't, like, why would you share that? You just look so mean. I don't know, maybe I'm nitpicking, but it's just like, ooh, that's like the reaction I get is like, ooh, why would you share that?
Wheelchair. So we're back to rolling bandages. We've been kind of intermittently filming this trip, mostly because it's hard. My hands are tired and I'm actually feeling really good today. So this is like kind of the first day. So I haven't been able to self-film, which is what I usually do. I actually am kind of proud that I can wrap the bandages today, because I don't think I could have done this before today. So progress. I wasn't in pain, and that was like the hardest part about it, is like every day I knew I couldn't do these things, but I wasn't getting signals from my body that I was in pain and needed to stop doing them. I just knew to follow my protocols. I couldn't do them. So like, you can't raise your arm above 90 degrees. You can't lift more than would be a gallon of water. So like things like putting on your compression where you use a lot of force to pull them on is hard. So I had to stand there while somebody else pulled my pants up. And that is, it's a way of being humbled that I never knew I would experience. I did actually have some additional complications, which then extended those physical limits from the usual 4 weeks to like almost 8 weeks. So double the time that most people experience. But you know what? We're going to talk about that more because I think at this point it kind of crosses over to how it affected me emotionally. And I think that's a whole other topic that I want to address somewhere a little less public. So we're just about to go to the operating room and start the procedure. I had all these things planned. I was going to film for TikTok and YouTube and Instagram. And you know what? I'm not doing them because I'm nervous and I just want to have the surgery. I just want to have the surgery and I want it to be successful. And that is where I want to put my energy right now. So yeah, I kind of threw all of my plans out the wall, which is very unlike me, but you know what? It feels good to just put my needs first and focus on, this whole long process. It's going to be about 6.
So it's interesting, right? So I want to put my needs first when in reality, I mean, you would hope that that's what's happening this whole time. Like you would hope that that's why we're getting these surgeries, we're doing all of this stuff is because it's things that you need. And that's where it's like, I feel like there's like this little opening into the real world of I'm doing this because this is part of this deal that I have and I have to film all of this content and this content is very important. It's a big reason why I am doing this stuff is because it is to promote these different surgeries and to promote all of this stuff because I think a big part of this is that I'm not sure if Anna is like, paying full price for these surgeries or paying at all, right? So like the content is a big part of the deal here, right? And that's where there's a lot of like, how necessary is this stuff actually? It's a really big part of it, right?
Hours of surgery. So this is not a short, simple thing. It is going to be intense. But they're hoping that I will have pain reduction immediately. As you could see when they were doing the markings on my arms and stuff, I am having a lot of shoulder and elbow pain, and just holding my arms up is quite difficult for me right now. So these things will allow me to do things that I used to love a lot that now are kind of hard, like my makeup and my hair. Those are sometimes challenging things for me right now. So I think it's going to open up a world of possibility of what I feel comfortable doing. This is probably the hardest part of the surgical process to talk about because it's like physical pain is easy to explain and easy for people to understand, but emotional pain is really challenging to describe. And it's all relative, right? Everybody feels things differently. And I guess that's true for physical pain too, but I think people comprehend it better. My third surgery was really hard because I had a complication. I had what's called spitting stitches. Now, it is normal to have a couple of those, but I ended up spitting every single stitch of a certain type, which ended up creating about 35 different wounds on my arms, which required me to do a lot of wound care and to stop a lot of my activity to like the bare minimum, keeping my arms elevated and literally just not moving them to try to let those wounds heal.
So that's like, obviously sounds terrible. And this is why, when people, it's so frustrating, man, when people ask me, why don't you just get loose skin surgery? I'm like, dude, surgery is no joke, right? And like, there can be complications from this stuff. And like, that's a big reason why I think like, it's definitely something you should really, really think about before you just decide to do this, right? Like, because there are so many things that can happen, because just the recovery, if it goes well, is going to be painful. But then if there are complications, it's going to be even more painful, right?
It's also why I started hyperbaric therapy, and it was rough. And I took that on myself. I thought it was my fault. I thought I was a bad patient. I thought I was a failure. My doctor always said to me through the surgical process, like, you can't win surgery. And even though he said that every single time we talked, I I couldn't believe it in that instant. I blamed myself a lot. It's been really hard, and I'm not going to sit here and cry because I feel like emotionally I've moved past that. But there was about 2 months where I was probably the most depressed I've ever been because I couldn't do anything that I normally did. Like I couldn't even like get a plate from a counter, right? And my physicality was so limited, and now it was limited for an even longer time than I had mentally prepared myself for. On top of that, just like I talked about in my previous surgeries, there were a lot of hormonal changes, and it just compounded to a place that I wasn't in a great space. A lot of people have been asking me like, why are you not on YouTube? Like, why did you take a break? Why are you taking so long to come back? Are you coming back? When are we going to see you again? And I made the decision after that second surgery, when I kind of had that emotional moment, to pull back because I needed to just make sure that I could take care of myself. I love making content. I love sharing my story. I love connecting with you all. And I love, educating on lipedema. But my first priority was my health. And my health was just not at a place that I could do that. Mentally, I was not in the right headspace. And I was incredibly grateful that when I went through this huge, massive emotional struggle around surgery 3, that I didn't have that extra burden.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you didn't have... I feel like it was probably this feeling of you didn't have to put on a mask, right, for a certain amount of people. You didn't have to act a certain way or be a certain person for these people, because that can be very daunting and tiring and annoying, right? This is stuff that it doesn't have to be filmed. It doesn't have to be put out there. And that's like, I think why a lot of people it's very interesting that you are deciding to share this so much, right? And then after that to still come back for this, it's a very interesting choice, right?
I have not logged in or looked at YouTube in probably 5 months, and I probably won't look at YouTube, mostly because I don't think it's a really great place for me. I think the hardest thing about being such a public figure, going through something as, challenging this in like a bigger body, is that people have a lot of opinions about it, and they honestly research your life in a way that I just never anticipated. I don't honestly think I'm that important or that interesting to have merited the content that came out of this journey.
I mean, I agree with that. I no shade or anything. I don't think I think that that's true, right? I think the reason that people were interested is because you're a relatively large creator, not body size, but just like, the amount of people that are watching, and you are making claims that a lot of people didn't feel were true, and so then they started looking into it. Like, there's a big difference between just being someone that's sharing their journey, and like, you're not going, from my experience, you're not going to deal with people doing that kind of stuff. But when there are claims that have multiple people saying, hey, I don't think that this is true, and then there's like doctors coming out that are saying, maybe not calling you out specifically, but that are just saying, this stuff isn't really true. And then it seems like there is a incentive for you because you're working with this company, and that maybe seems why they're like that. I think is a big reason. And the problem is like that still never gets addressed, right? And I think it's the easy thing, right? To just like, oh, people are just haters and they're just mean because I'm fat and they're just being mean to me. And that's why, right? Instead of really addressing the stuff. But I feel like that stuff will never be super addressed because you would rather just avoid it and not mention it, right? So the people that are just watching your videos aren't exposed to it, but you're never really addressing the actual issues that people seem to have when it comes to like, hey, this is what we're talking about. It's not just people being like, you're fat and whatever, right? Like, maybe there's people that are leaving those comments on TikTok, but as far as like the videos that are being made, the majority, I'm sure that there's some bad actors, but the majority of like are calling out specific things, being like, this doesn't seem like it lines up. That's really more of the criticism, right?
Other people, it was something I did not emotionally or mentally plan for in any way, because I just didn't think I was that important. I know who I am, I know what I stand for, and if people want to question that or recast that narrative, that doesn't change who I am. I'm here for the people that need to learn about these surgeries, that need to be educated about these illnesses, who also need help, who don't know where to go, don't know where to start, don't know what it looks like. That's what I'm here for.
So I think that that's where people are frustrated, is because it seems like it's not really, hey, this is how you deal with this stuff. It's basically just like, oh, just get this liposuction and then you'll be good. Like, there's so much more that goes into these different things that people deal with that aren't just, oh, just get liposuction, right? And so that's what I think, you know, a good amount of people are kind of frustrated with, but that's kind of it right there. And then there is a little bit more that I want to talk about here, kind of towards the end, where she kind of sits and talks for a little bit. So let's go to 1927 right here.
I'm all surgery prepped, and they're kind of just getting everything ready. The anesthesiologist will be here soon. So now that markings are done, everything's done, it is time for surgery. So they are going to go Hebe cleanse my body and get this rolling. I don't know if we'll have shots from this. This is a little bit more difficult to film while also keeping it appropriate for the internet. So you might just see me on the other side. I guess you'll know in a little bit if we were able to film or not. So I'll see you guys later. So I just had my first MLD post-surgery. It's kind of weird because of all the surgeries I've had, I feel like the most normal, the most me, the most comfortable after this surgery. I don't know if it's because it was the last one or if just like some magic is in the air in Utah. But honestly, I feel great. And if anything, I'm having to like temper down what I want to do because honestly, I feel really good. After this, you know, I still have 2 weeks or so of recovery left, but really this is the end of my surgery journey as far as I know. And now I get to just live. So yeah, literally no regrets. More strong than I've ever said it in my life. No regrets on this decision. I feel like how I feel right now is weirdly amazing. And I didn't anticipate to feel this good. I didn't. Okay, so we're back from Utah. I am 2 weeks post-op right now, so honestly, I'm starting the like journey towards just getting to be Anna without surgery looming over her head anymore. It's hard to explain that like each surgery changes you a little bit more. It's not like you get out of surgery one and everything's magically fixed. You have to go through all of them. So you're kind of having to play this like faith card of like so much surgery before you get to see like the big results. And so,
I mean, I don't know. I don't know how many people are going to be doing this as well. You know, I don't know. It just feels like, who is out here trying to get 4 surgeries? I don't know, man.
You know, that was a crushing anxiety on me. Like, I don't know what I would have done. I would have blamed myself. Fortunately, I did start to see like the big changes really right after this surgery. By the time I left, you know, Salt Lake, the day before I left, I was doing, you know, over a mile walk at the little farm that's across from the center there, where the cows and all the cute little animals are. And honestly, it was a great distraction. So I wasn't really thinking about how much I was walking, but to be walking that much and feeling still really fine after it was unusual. And then the Salt Lake airport is notoriously very long if you're not flying Delta. I was not flying Delta. And I walked the whole thing. I didn't get a wheelchair. I didn't get help. I did it by myself. And I felt totally capable and okay doing that. There have been times where I have flown home alone, especially surgery number 2, where I did not feel safe or good or that I was okay and was kind of terrified the whole time flying home. When I think about like what I learned through this process, I learned a lot about myself personally, but then I also learned a lot about myself as a creator, which is like a weird thing to have to also learn, but I did. Personally, I learned that good things take time, that sometimes the only way through is through, and that it may not make sense the whole way through, but you just have to like trust the process. And there was a lot of trust in this journey and a lot of like moments where maybe I didn't share those moments as much, but you know, you wonder, in the end, will this work for me? And I mean, honestly, I still don't know, So I still have a little bit of that like heaviness, but I'm trusting that process. I'm doing the things my doctors want me to do, and it's gotten me to the place I'm at right now, which is significantly better than when I started. It's helped.
So this is where it's like, I'm confused as to what the future will hold, because that's something that's very interesting, is because, okay, so we've claimed that, you know, all of these surgeries are going to be the fix that make everything better, and we're going to be able to get back perfectly, which on this screen, we're going to be able to get back to running 5K, right? I think I said a half marathon, but it was a 5K. And like, you know, are we going to be straight back into that? And it's just all so bizarre that we went from, I am able to run, I am healthy, I can do a 5K, and then immediately we're like, my life is, I'm so debilitated by this, you know, whatever it is that I'm going through, that now I need multiple surgeries that are going to take almost, you know, a year to do all of these surgeries to get back to what I was feeling before. I don't know. It's just very, very, very interesting. So I am very curious as to what is going to like happen from now on, like what the content is going to look like, because, you know, for the past like year, it's like, you know, for the most part, it's been like, Anna's almost been like a, you know, a surgery influencer, right? Like that's kind of what the content has been. So I'm curious to see what the content will be next.
Helping me realize that some of the bigger goals and the bigger things I want to do with my life, which may or may not have anything to do with the internet, are going to take time, and it's going to be frustrating the time it takes. But if you can stick with it, you know, you will get there in the end, right? I believe I will get there in the end. And I think this journey has taught me that. Publicly, I think what I learned is that I don't owe anybody an explanation or a justification for why I've made the choices I've made for my health. And, you know, this year has been really awful in terms of the way people have spoken about me online, have, you know, critiqued what I've gone through, and to be going through something, she just woke up, something as traumatic, like surgery is traumatic. It is difficult. It is heavy emotionally. It is heavily physically. It's heavy socially. It's heavy.
So like, yes, of course, surgery and all of that stuff, like, especially if it is like, oh, I don't have any other choice but to do this, right? Then I can understand. But it's like, this was something that you decided to do, which it seemed that you had a deal with the person that did the surgery with you. And then you decided, I'm going to tell people and like give people advice and try and like influence others to do this thing. So then people, again, it's completely different if you're just going into the surgery because you have to have it, right? And there's no other option. But like, you decided to have this elective surgery and then make content about how other people should be getting this elective surgery. And then people made content in response to that saying, hey, I'm not sure if this is the best thing that people should be doing. That's really where most of the criticism is coming from. It is not the fact that some random person on the internet got surgery because they needed surgery, right? There's two very, very different things between someone just getting surgery because they needed it and someone, what it feels like, selling a surgery to other people. And then there are other people saying, that are experts in the field, saying, hey, I don't think that this surgery is super necessary, and it might even be dangerous, or it might not be the best thing for someone, right? Two very, very different things.
Financially, like it hits you in a lot of different ways. And to have people jump in and add an additional layer of trauma, or try to add an additional layer of trauma, made me realize that people who feel comfortable doing that to someone are not people I should listen to or people I should invite into my life. And so honestly, this surgery has helped me create boundaries. It's a weird thing to say, but it's made me realize that I deserve to protect myself. Like that no matter what I do in my life, people are not going to like parts of it, and they're not going to believe me, or they're not going to want to support me. Like, that's life. And when you are a creator that is like really freaking public, and you're going to get a lot more of those people because you're just have more eyes on you. I've had some pretty crazy changes in the last week and a half. It made me realize how much I was carrying and living with and putting up with and not acknowledging, simply because I didn't know that there was anything different than that. And so if anything, I'm walking out of this just so much more grateful to the person I went in, who did a lot of really incredible hard things in a body that just did not cooperate. And so, you know, it's making me really think about how do I be part of the change in the way people see and understand this illness. So it's just changed. It's changed everything. That the simple answer is it's changed everything. And it is changing me in ways that I don't even know yet. When I think about what's next, obviously I'm back, and I will be bringing back hauls because I have heard you loud and clear. You miss them. And you know what? I'm excited to do them now with my body changing. It's gonna be fun to like just explore my new ride. I basically had the human version of Pimp My Ride. So I want to explore, you know, what
The human version of Pimp My Ride. All right, interesting.
works for my body now. And then that'll be fun to do with you guys through hauls. And I think there will be more than that. But I'm letting myself be open. The reason I'm back is because I love this community and because y'all have reached out and because you've been so kind to me and so supportive and so encouraging. And it made me realize that I need to find ways to connect more with you. It's just the beginning of something really exciting and fun. And that's taking me back to where all of this started for me. It's been a lot. We've talked about a lot. And I feel like I needed to do this to just like catch y'all up on like where I was, what I did, etc., etc. So now you know. Now you know everything that's gone on, what I've been through, etc., etc. And now we get to start having some fun. So with that, I hope you find joy in your life today. I hope you find a reason to smile, and I'll see you guys next time.
All right, so that's the most recent video. So I don't know. We will see where things go from here. I feel like I've kind of shared everything that I can say about, you know, the whole situation. I think that, you know, as far as like Spark Notes are concerned, I think the people that are critical of Hannah, for the most part, are critical of decisions that are made and perceptions that are kind of put out there. And like, I'm doing this for this, and it's like, wait, well, that goes against the thing that you said before, and what about this? And then those questions never get answered. So it's like, I think the criticism is not usually just, oh, Anna is fat and that's it, right? There's usually more to it than that, and it's like a deeper level that, again, I think people, you have to kind of be watching, especially the longer form content and the things that Anna says, to really understand the criticisms of Anna, right? Because if you just kind of click on one video, similar to Amberlyn Reed, you're just like seeing all these comments, you're like, oh my gosh, what are these all about? But it's like, you have to kind of understand the lore to understand all the inconsistencies and the things that are being said and all of that stuff. So I'm genuinely curious what y'all think down in the comment section down below. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.